Doshi, welcome to Startup Grind. Thank you so much for joining in and taking the time out to share your wisdom with us today. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for inviting. Exciting, to be here on the other side of the table.
Sure, sure. And, I am someone who has definitely seen this journey very closely. So I was always looking forward that when you could, join here and share all of those stories with all our community people. So very glad that this month we are able to make it.
Great, great. Yeah, as I said, thanks for inviting me.
Yes, yes. So, Rushi, so for everyone, just to put a small introduction, Rushi is as an entrepreneur, and he started his company Simplicity Creation in 2012. And in 2019, he made a very nice exit, joining iLink Systems. And today we are going to cover all that went through in this journey and learn from Rishi about one, of course, growing his own agency, and second, the acquisition and the merger, and all the lessons around it. We would learn from Rishi today. So I am very excited, Rishi, personally, because I think there's so much to learn, and especially coming from an entrepreneur who has been such a close friend. Also, I think we are going to rock this session today.
Awesome. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Great, great. So, Rishi, why not we start with a quick introduction from your end? Maybe you want to, put a more formal introduction with a more detailed things that you did, and maybe start with a bit before 2012, also like what you were doing, and then how you started, and then how you did it go.
Okay, great. So, yeah, I'm a computer engineer by profession. Always had a dream to start my own company. And so basically, before starting Simplicity Creations in 2012, I was working in Infosys for close to 4 years. Then me and Ritesh, we started Simplicity Creations in 2012 with a focus of giving product development services to clients. We wanted to build our own product. We gave a shot to it. We learned from it that what to do and what not to do, and then we started expanding. So early projects that we got were early work that we got were from some of the subordinates working with us, and that's how it grew. Luckily we were in a position to choose what kind of work we want to do really from start. It kind of made an impact, that what Simplicity is overall doing, right? And from there, we grew the team to like around a 50-55 people team. And late 2019, early 2020, I mean, this was one of the good things happened in 2020. For us, in January 2020, Simplicity got acquired by iLink. And now in iLink, I am CEO of the entire IoT business. I manage the overall global IoT portfolio for iLink with the sole focus of growing that business to the next level. So that's where that's a quick and short intro about me. I think you're on mute, Ayush.
That is like the
Yeah.
happens in every meeting. That's the cliche moment. Okay, so basically, I was saying that yes, and nice summary. I think we'll break it down into further segments and go over each of these learnings today. So, Rishi, why not you talk a bit more about specifically on the journey with Simplicity till the time you started your acquisition journey. So before that, say till 2018, how was it? And as a startup founder that you found that worked for you, and looking back, especially now, you must be understanding that what lessons made sense and what did not. So why not we ponder a bit more on that part?
It was, I mean, like any startup, I would say it was a roller coaster ride. We had our own challenges, we had our own wins, which we were proud of, and we kind of started learning from some of the challenges. Obviously, we try to do all the right things, but a lot of times you don't know if it is a right thing or a wrong thing when before you do it, right? Because every company has its own DNA. So there is no off the shelf kind of a solution for any problems that you might have, right?
Mhm. Right.
Initially we started in a flat, and then we grew. We moved to a commercial office space, which was a challenge in itself. Scaling up from a 10 people team, to a 20 people team and to a 50 people team. So it always has its pros and cons, because with larger the team, you have to kind of keep getting good business to make sure the team kind of grows with you, right? So that those were some of the challenges, but as I said, we learned from those, and we kind of went ahead, grew, did some mistakes, probably did some bad investments on products, etc. But yeah, that's where that's how we learn, right? And one of the key things that we learned, that it is all about people. It is all about the team. When I look back, right, some of the key aspects is, who are you associated with, what kind of work you are doing,
Mhm.
what is the quality of the revenue that you are generating, because that's one of the key things, right? And what kind of a
Right.
team you have, overall, that's some of the key things. So initially we feel that, hey, I mean, just a small example, that we might have somebody who we can pay a little low and get the work done at that moment, but it is difficult to scale up that kind of a team, right? So we have to
Right.
go through some of certain of these challenges, and it is always that exponential scale that becomes a challenge. So growing from 2 to 5 is not a challenge, but 5 to 20 is a challenge, right? Then being stable at 20, and after 20 to growing from 20 to 30 is not a challenge, but 30 to 50 is going to be a challenge. So it's that way.
Right. Right, right. I imagine these step like this path usually like not a not a continuous curve, but more like a series of steps, basically, where you have to take one step and then you hit a barrier. Where if you solve something, then only you get to the
Correct.
next step.
Correct.
This is how
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. And as I
imagine.
said, right, there is no one solution fit. You might, so obviously reading helps, because the more scenarios, the more use cases, the more journeys that you read about, that you talk about, that you observe, the more you can grasp and see what fits you. But yeah, I mean, it's all about then eventually doing the right things for your own company.
Right, right. Well said, well said. Okay, so basically, would you like to tell a bit on then what transpired around, say, 2018 and 19 when you started probably, being open to acquisition and, during that phase? Would you like to share a bit more focused journey on that aspect?
Sure. So, to be honest, we never planned to get acquired. So, it was not a planned thing. But yeah, we were planning to kind of raise capital, right? We thought that we are doing enough on our own, and there is a linear growth to that. We thought we will bring in certain capital, and one of the things I felt, that if you bring capital, it will be easy for us to do certain strategic investments, and we can grow exponentially. That was one of the things. So we started preparing ourselves through that way. In
Mhm.
fact, one of the things that we had in mind was, if we do not raise capital, we might get, we might get listed and have our own IPO in the next 2 years or so. Obviously, in the SME sector, and that was one of the things that we were eyeing for. So we
Mhm.
started preparing that way a year back. That, hey, if you want to raise the capital, we need to take certain steps, we need to do the things the right way. It's no more like a family business, and things like
Mhm.
that. Luckily for
Yeah.
us, we were doing all the right things, because we were doing it for the first time, and we were scared enough not to do anything shady. Right? So everything was in place. But that's where we started, and then the opportunity came in through the network.
Mhm.
And we just thought, hey, this is the first time, we would like to explore how it goes, and it all worked out.
Okay, okay. So when you say the opportunity came to the network, was it like already like a customer you're working with, or like a friend of friend, or like how did you like let's say really crashed into the
Sure.
opportunity?
So no, we didn't knew iLink, right?
Okay.
Uh, but what happened was, some of the leaders of iLink said we are looking to acquire a company with XYZ experience, with this kind of a team and things like that. And one of the connects that I have, saw this post and they said, "Hey, there is a company. They're looking for investment. Would you like to see?" Right?
Okay.
And there was a company from US which was hired by iLink.
Okay.
Its name is IT Exchange. They basically helped buyers and sellers to get connected, right?
Okay.
And somebody from my connect knew this guy who's running, whose name is Amol, who's running the India business for IT Exchange, right? And we
Okay.
met, and he said, "Do you want to meet this company?" I said, "Why not? Let's see what happens." And that's how it all went ahead.
Okay. So journey was more like you were exploring, like every step you probably called to check it out, and
Correct,
I think
correct,
that thing led to another.
correct,
Okay. Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Great, great. So moving forward, then once you let's say had an interest and you both parties kind of saw the value. How did it go from there? Why I'm focusing on this question is for our audience to understand like what happens during the phase where you are let's say in the interest phase and getting acquired. So what are the due diligences, or what are the different things that were questions for you that you had to solve, or questions from you that you looked into? So what all basically, and how much time all of this took, and how did that part go?
Correct, correct. So I think one of the, so there are two aspects to it, and I'll like to like divide it into the two stories, right? I think
Sure.
one is your professional aspect of the whole story, and the second is your personal aspect and your home front. Because with us, if we are getting acquired or somebody is buying us out, especially in families where there are no entrepreneurs, it is like there is something wrong. That's why we have to sell the company, right? So but and that's maybe that's a notion mainly in India here, right? That hey, he's selling a company, that means he's in loss, right? But the fact is, just like share market, we will invest only in those companies which are doing good. Tomorrow if you get to know that hey, one company is going to go down, would you put money on it? No, right? Basically, if people are going to invest in you, if people are going to acquire you, obviously there are certain business alignments, and they feel that the team is strong, the overall there is value, and that's why they'll do that. So that's the first thing, right? So fighting that battle, at a personal level with some of the family members, some of the friends, is like the first thing, right? And when it all started, the first thing and one of the most important things that got discussed, by both of us, by Simplicity and iLink, was about culture. They wanted to understand who we are, what we do, because on the website, through the common connects, they know what business we are doing, what technology we have, and things like that. But they wanted to understand about how we treat our employees, how I as a leader am, how Ritesh as a CTO is, and things like that, right? And that was one of the core things. And I think in the natural scheme of things, we also tried to do that. That what is iLink doing, right? How are they? How are the leaders? And initially, even before discussing the valuation, before discussing any numbers, it was all about understanding each other, right? There were multiple meetings that happened with their leadership, their CEO, multiple meetings that happened with us, before we actually went into the deeper discussions. And when everybody was comfortable that hey, this is what it is, right? In fact iLink was looking to acquire a bigger company, around 80 to 100 people company. We were a 50 people company, but they really liked us when they met us, right? And that's how it grew, right? So that was step one. That was like the first check mark, right? Because if there is not if there is a single discomfort there, rest of the things doesn't matter, to be really honest, right? So that was the first thing that was discussed. And then obviously there was a very stringent process about due diligence of the company. So there are mainly 3 to 4 types of due diligence that the organization goes through. One is people due diligence, that what we are saying, do we have that level of hierarchy, do we have those people, do we have XYZ experience when we are saying that, right? So that is number one, especially in a services kind of a business, right? Because there is no IP to say, right? It's all about people, it's all about what type of clients you have. So the second due diligence was about the clients. Actually, we had set up meetings with some of our clients, and iLink leadership spoke to them, try to understand how I am as a leader, how Ritesh is as a leader, how the team is, the professional and things like that. So that was the second due diligence. Then obviously there was a financial due diligence, checking the books, if anything is wrong in the books, right? Are we doing the business the right way? Are the taxes paid, and things like that, which is like a standard thing. But the amount of documentation and everything that goes, you start realizing that, hey, I could have done this better, you know. We don't focus on such things, but there are things you can do in a much better way, when so that it kind of keep your everything clean in a way, and helps you to plan. Because when we had to submit certain projections, we had to submit certain growth patterns and things like that, and we realized that some of these things we could have done without being asked for our internal planning, right? So that was one good learning. And then there was a legal due diligence, obviously, that happened. That's one of the next step, that are there any dues pending, are there any cases on the founders, are there any cases on the companies and things like that, right? And a technology due diligence. So these are the 5 due diligence that probably a company goes through. The severity or the depth of it depends on how big the acquisition is, how soon the acquisition has to happen, what are the different aspects of the acquisition and things like that. But yeah, that's how things happen. And so as I said, we were really open about listening to things. One thing iLink was really clear about was they wanted to acquire us 100%, right? Which we had not thought about, right? Because we were there to get some investments. But then things fall in place. We discussed internally. I thought it's a good step. We will get a bigger playground. We will get much more overall things to grow our own business, our own clients, more ammunition to kind of grow multifold. And eventually we agreed and things moved ahead. So these were the 5-6 key things that happened over the period of time. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Like, yeah, this is very useful actually. Just like you said, it's always, sometimes we are like so focused on our day to day that we are not realizing to keep a check on these things. And just like you said, that, like when the due diligence comes, you are thinking that maybe I could have already have these things ready. While for most of, I think, early stage entrepreneurs, it is like a house on fire that time, that, okay, where to find what, and going over past emails and going over records and all those things. Sometimes you are like that nervous student in the class who has not done his homework.
Exactly. Yeah. And importance of planning, as you rightly said, a lot of times, especially in the early zone, we are looking at a quarter, a month and things like that, whereas we really have to look at what happens after 2 years from now. The planning should be for so if today we are talking, the planning should be for what happens at the end of 21, 22, 23, not what happens at the end of 20. So
Right,
so that's
right,
that's one of the key things. Yeah.
right. Sure. And I just like to a bit go deeper into this. So you said that there was due diligence, and then there was the different things. So I wanted to revisit to make sure, like, any further lessons that you were learning during all this that you'd like to share, and then we'll move to the post acquisition phase. So basically, like, at the time of acquisition, any further lessons that you learned or that you think you would like to share with everyone if they are looking forward to, for example, get acquired or go into similar journey.
Right. With respect to any of these due diligence processes, right?
Due diligence. as maybe like overall process, like maybe it may be related to even valuation, or it may be related to any other questions that at that time probably came to your mind, that maybe sometimes this thing happens, but this is how you got to go about it or something.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, one thing that we felt that there were things which we could have done in a much better way, even without the whole getting acquired thing coming in place, right? Especially overall financial planning, overall planning of resources, overall planning of certain hierarchies, right, which would have helped to accelerate the growth of the company, right? When you are asked the right set of questions and you start answering those, at that time you feel that, hey, I could have asked this question to myself, and probably taken it to the next level, right? And these are very, very simple questions, right? That how do you manage people? Have you fired somebody? What is the process that you follow if you have to fire somebody because they are not good enough? And things like that, right? And how do so in a way we handle these situations, but if we have a process for that, that is one of the key things, right? Second is how I think all of us are because all of us are either technology guys or marketing and sales guys. Especially startups in India, they feel that finance is something that could be either that's like, okay, we will manage, right? Especially the financial planning part, the taxation part, and things like that.
It is just, I think, confined to year-end taxes and TDS. I think most of the time,
Exactly. Yeah.
like being in the same boat, I can imagine that. I don't think like companies to the size of 100 people, most of the time they are really planning like finance, like they are really spending time, in fact, on planning. They are just
Exactly.
moving month to month or a quarter to quarter.
Exactly. So that was something that we learned could have been done better, because the moment we started thinking that we need to get investments, right, we hired a virtual CFO. Okay. Now this guy, he was our CA. Okay. And we started receiving professional services, which started making a lot of difference, right? For example, I mean, small difference like, hey, you have probably 30 lakhs of money in your account which has been there since last 3 months. You're happy that you have that cash flow, but why haven't you created an FD out of it, right? You could have got probably some amount of it, and you could have at the end of the day you could have managed your own anniversary free of cost, right? It's all these small things which we think that, hey, why should I spend like 30, 40K or 50K on a finance guy to start with, because I would hire a good Java developer or a .NET developer and get billing out of that. But I
Right.
think since we are not, I mean, in our case, right, we were both technology guys, right? And since we are not from that background, it is always good to have somebody who's helping you. I think it's worth the money. We learned it late, right? We learned it after 4 years of running our company, 4 to 5 years of running our company, but it started paying off, right? Because people who we were talking to, we had answers to the questions which probably founders will not have. So I knew my numbers really well, because I was hammered with those numbers that, hey, if you spend XYZ, you might get in trouble after 4 months or 7 months or 1 year, right? So if you're spending, it's your call eventually, right? It's my call eventually, but this is what it is. So decide on that, right?
Right.
And smaller things like that, apart from TDS, GST, and all those things, right? These are certain small financial plannings that help eventually. So that was one of the key things that we thought we could have, looking back, we could have done in a much better way, right? And I think second important thing is, a lot of times we try to manage certain things by ourselves instead of delegating. uh, you know that is one of the key things. We should be able to delegate, and get professional help. It doesn't mean you spend like lakhs of money doing that. There are smart ways to do that, but getting that eventually helps on longer run, right? Because you also learn out of it. Obviously there are certain missing links in any startup. You'll not have like the team of whole 7 people to start with, right? On the founding member, CFO, and all those things. But if you get professional help, it really helps to build the organization in a professional way.
Okay, okay, great, great. Okay, yeah, that's pretty useful. I think just like what I can pick up is that eventually you have to bring in professionals, and it is a good way to basically reinvest the money into the growth, because this professional help is going to eventually pay it itself.
Correct. And
Oh,
I mean, yeah, one of the again key things that we learned was when we started, we had all the documentations, right? But it was all over the place in a way. So we had everything. We had all the NDAs. We had all, I mean, simple documentation, agreements, etc. But it was not consolidated. So due
right.
diligence was the time when we started consolidating, and we realized, wow, I mean, this is good amount of data, right? And this is good amount of customers. When I started when I started creating a list of my customers, last 3 years of customers, I said, hey, I could have reached back to them, and just call saying, hey, what happened? Because okay, we have done business. Now you're on your way. We are on your way. You're doing good, but maybe that customer is doing something else, and
Mhm.
things like that. But yeah, that's how it happens in your day to day growing the business. You sometimes forget some of the small things.
Right, right. Happens. Yes, yes, definitely. I mean, I can imagine that definitely happens with everyone. Yeah. Okay, great. So, Doshi, then I think we'll move to the next part of your journey, which is, I'd say, where you got the final paper signed, and then I'd like to again go a bit slow here. Like, what exactly happened once you had signed? Like, how did the transition happen, and how did your team take it? And like, what was your like overall take? So like what happened to the team, and and are there any other things that you did at that time? Would you like to tell me?
Okay. So once all these due diligence goes in place, then I mean, around about that, in parallel, the valuation discussion starts. Right? You have a number in your mind because you know what is the value of your company. Obviously, you start asking around in your network how the companies are valued. I think we also discuss, right? Do you have any idea, and things like that?
And I think for especially services company, there's a lot
Correct.
less literature available. So I think services
Exactly.
company CXOs are always not very clear as
Correct.
compared to a product company.
Correct. So the valuation happens, and there are discussions around that, right? And once there is a comfort level with a number, there is something called as LOI, which is letter of intent, that gets signed. So
Mhm.
LOI has basically a validity. It's basically like, hey, this is around about the price that we want, that we are putting to the company, and we want to acquire that company. So the founders of the buying and the selling company signs the LOI. It's basically a soft agreement that okay, now we agree to go ahead and do all things. Somewhere in the middle of this due diligence, it happens, right? And once everything goes smooth, and there are no questions, every flag is ticked. All these owners of different due diligence, like owner of technology due diligence, owner of finance due diligence, legal due diligence, they submit their report, right?
Mhm.
And they say, hey, this is good to go, and all those things, and then the actual agreement is drafted, right? And this actual agreement then gets reviewed. You have to put a lawyer, to get it reviewed, because again, even if it is an agreement of it's a huge document, we feel that we understand English and let us go ahead and read it through. But it is better to get a lawyer in place and get it reviewed, and things like that. uh, and then this agreement gets executed, and so that's the transactional part of it, right? And the deal could be structured in different ways. It because continuing to what I said, it's basically a relationship that is getting built. We as founders were not exiting per se, right? We were becoming a part of iLink. So it was a relationship which was getting built up. So the documents related to that, what are the terms, what role we are gonna play, how much time we have as a lock-in, as an entrepreneur into that organization. All these things are discussed, apart from money, which are really really key, right? one of the key things that we discussed from a merging perspective was that none of our employees should be fired, right, unless and until there is a huge performance lag, right. As a part of acquisition, none of our employees should get fired. In fact, even the office boy is now an iLink office boy, so that way, and iLink was gracious enough, and as I said, this cultural thing is really important. So they were on really same page with that. They said, hey, we want the whole team, otherwise it doesn't make it's not a good thing. Obviously there were evaluations that got done, and especially with the common teams, right, the HR team, the sales team, the marketing team, and the finance and support team, because those are common guys, right. Rest all technology team is billable, right. Those are the common guys, but everybody got in.
Right.
uh,
Okay, great.
yeah, so that was one of the key things. And on day one we discussed this, to be really honest, that hey, as a part of acquisition, we don't want you guys to come and say we don't want these 10 people, right, unless and until you have a very compelling reason and performance reason and whatnot, right. So that was one of the things that happened. And so after everything got executed, the teams, there was a formal introduction. The teams got introduced to each other. Hey, this is simplicity. And iLink did that part really well, I would say, because we shifted to iLink office in Maner, and there was a nice welcome to welcome Simplicity Creations to iLink family, and it was a welcoming thing overall. And so it was a good thing. So me and Ritesh was my co-founder. We went to different roles. I become CEO of Thinking Heart, managing the whole IoT business. He's VP of Tech, managing certain pre-sales aspect and things like that, which was discussed. And so we never left a client. In fact, a lot of our clients have grown multifold after the acquisition, because there was a power of many more professional people, much more experienced team with us, right. And that is the strength of it, right. If you cannot grow after getting acquired, it's not a successful acquisition. So within 1 year, in fact within the COVID time itself, our Simplicity's business has grown almost double, right, because of the strength that iLink's brought in, that Simplicity didn't have. And as well as iLink got some really really good clients under that portfolio. So that was like a win-win for everyone. That happened. Yeah.
Great.
But the key thing is, people should be happy once you do that, right. So we also made sure that everybody got financially also benefited from the acquisition that we did. So all our people, each and every single person, we made sure they also got financially certain benefits out of it. And yeah, that's one of the key things of getting merged. Yeah.
Nice, nice, great. So, moving forward on our journey, so then, looking back, how has been life post acquisition? So, like once you got in and all the different things got settled. Now, how do you find yourself? And especially, I'd like to know, like in terms of the growth and the as well as personally, like how do you that happened and like how you see it, like if you were to look back and think that the parallel tracks, that one you were still having Simplicity or you are now part of iLink, so how have those paths been?
Yeah, it has been an awesome journey so far. I would say, met a lot of new people. Met when I say people, internal people to iLink, internal leadership, different clients, which as a part of Simplicity would have taken certain years to meet such kind of clients, and such kind of professional people. So it was amazing. So far it is amazing so far. Obviously, from managing a 50 people team to 200 people team and beyond, is a experience in itself. Working with professionals which are twice your age, twice your experience and things like that. It brings in the best out of you. Obviously, we try to do the certain things in our own way. We try to grow. There's a different energy that we have,
Mhm.
but once we start becoming a part of a bigger organization, there are a lot of things that you learn,
Mhm.
a lot of things that we could have done in a better way, as I said, right? As simple as when the COVID challenge happened, the way iLink did the business continuity plan, I was a part of it. What all things go into that plan, like 1,000 people working from home, the scale of that versus 50 people working from home. So managing all that, so there were quite a few learnings, which personally help us grow, right? So the professional
Mhm.
growth of individuals as founders is tremendous, right? How do you manage like 1,000 people, right? What all things go in, what aspects you have to cover in, what are the different financial steps that you take, and things like that, right? And that has really helped, getting a professional marketing team in place, getting a professional HR team in place, which is there to help you any time. So these are, as a founders, these are key things, right? And for people, obviously they got a better, I would say, when they went to iLink, all the folks in Simplicity, they got much bigger projects to work on, technologically much more challenging work to work on, right? We were doing good, no doubt in that. But as I said, some of the clients that we started working with and engaging with, probably as a 50 people service company versus a 1,000 people service company, it would have taken us some time to be there, right?
Mhm.
So these were some of the really amazing things that happened. Obviously there are challenges on the way, because you are also learning to gel up in a new environment, in
Mhm.
an environment where you are new for the first time, because when you are running your own company, you are the one who started it on day one, right? But here
Right.
there are already people, and I think it boils down to culture. We were really nicely welcomed, right?
Mhm.
And we never felt that, hey, I mean, where have we joined, or where have we now what ecosystem we are part of. It was all a natural thing, I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great, great. So we'll come towards towards the end of this session. Rishi, would you like to summarize, let's say, the three positives and three things that could have been improved through this journey? Like, if you were to conclude, and don't stick with three, even it could be more or less, but like whatever comes to mind. But the three biggest takeaways and three biggest improvements that you would like to point out.
Okay, so when you say from the journey perspective, right?
Yeah,
Right. So I think one, you know
from startup to acquisition, I'd
start,
say, like, the journey that you took in the last
right.
decade, also
Yeah.
how it has been. Yeah.
I think one of the key takeaways is, we have all the data we need, right? But a lot of times, a lot of entrepreneurs uh, are not sure how to go about it and how to really start making sense of that data. It could be financial data, it could be people data, it could be really small things that we can answer questions to ourselves and start thinking about those. The
Mhm.
process of that, learning that process, acquisitions help you to do that actually, right? uh,
Mhm.
so that's one of the key things. Second, I think, through the whole process, one of the key things is, uh, get professional help wherever needed. I know we as founders, feel that we can do everything. Yes, when the time comes, we can, but professional help really helps. Especially in the fields which you are not sure you are good at, and that acceptance is really important. That, hey, I don't have a CFO, right, and we don't have a financial background, but it is the key, right? And things like that. So that is one of the big and good learnings. I'm glad we did it at the right time, and to be really honest. And as I said, the professional help. So there was somebody who was in between iLink and Simplicity. He was orchestrating the whole transaction, right? The company called IT Exchange, and they helped us a lot, and I'm sure they helped iLink a lot as well, in a way, because there are certain discussions that you might not you cannot have directly with the buyers regarding the valuation, regarding certain aspects, regarding the role and xyz, which they kind of smoothen for you, so that you don't start on the wrong foot. Right.
Right.
Obviously you have to pay them a good amount of money, but it's at the end of the day, it's all worth it, is what I feel, right? So that's one of the key things. Third key things is acquisitions, I felt are treated in a wrong way outside the startup community, which is not the case. Which now at least my family understand that, oh, this is good, this is not a bad thing, because first everybody thought it's like a bad thing. What is, you're getting acquired, what happened, what went wrong, so professional people knew that this is a good thing, but so that was a learning, actually, I would say. Right. And I think one of the important learnings which we always believed in, but it kind of got a tick mark, it's all about people. Right. It's all about what team you have built, and it's all about the quality of your revenue. You might get an opportunity to get few more extra bucks, right? Versus getting a quality revenue, where the client sticks with you for a longer period of time. So that decision is really, that should I get a client who's paying me 1 lakh rupees a month for the rest of 5 years or 10 years, or should I get somebody who's paying me 10 lakhs today? Right. Obviously there are pros and cons of both, but that quality of revenue and the team that you build around, especially for the services company, right, is really really important, because the money is there, the money is on the founders. The most important thing is the founders, the money is on the founders, the money is on the people after the founders, and the money is on what kind of revenue you have, right? So these are the key things. In fact, revenue is the last of the worries, to be really honest. It's more the founders. I have been hearing in different startup drive events, different startup events, that hey, it's all about the founder, it's all about the founders. And we used to say, "Yeah, we are so good, I mean, where are we going?" Right? Everybody says it's about the founders, but when the time comes, it's genuinely about the founders. That's what we realize, right? So these are the three four key important things that happens. There are certain discussions that happen. Buyer will always feel that he's paying more. The seller will always feel that he can get more. Somewhere, you have to make up your mind. It's all about how you do the transactions with your clients or anybody else, right? So it's that way. And doing the right investments at right time. Sometimes money in the bank is not worth than that money being invested to do something good, uh, that way. So yeah, these were the key learnings. What things we could have done better? Probably. I mean, now looking at the hindsight, uh, we could have few more clients, as I said, which were not like a small, give us the product and we will take care of it, but rather a little more big enterprises, because they stick with you. And to get these logos, it is in itself, for a service company, it's a good valuation, because a lot of times, we do not uh, get into that mode, because there are a lot of documentations. We are competing with big players, there are a lot of asks, and especially for a service company of 50 to 100 people, it becomes challenging that, hey, I mean, come on, these guys are paying me half the money and sucking the entire bandwidth, they want xyz, and I don't know where it's going to go. But it's in a way they are doing the due diligence, right, about you. And if you have a little more of these logos, especially from a service perspective, it is anytime going to help, because somebody if you're planning to get an investment or grow, or go to an IPO route or getting acquired, people who are gonna acquire you are gonna know that what it takes to get clients like these. So they will automatically say that, hey, wow, okay, that means somebody has already trusted you. We don't have to worry. So that's one of the key things. We could have had a little more of those. We were more like going behind. I would say, work where we would like to get to play a little more with the technology, but I think there has to be a little balance on that end, right? That is one of the key things. And I think the resource pyramid is really, really important, especially in the service company. It should always be like this, where the top is the leadership, right? And the less experienced guys have to be, I mean, it has to be balanced that way. If the pyramid is inverted, where you have maximum people who are much more experienced, and then less freshers, it's not a scalable model. That's what we learned, but luckily, our pyramid was much more balanced, because of the way we work, right? We need more freshers, we need more young people in the team, and things like that, right? So that was, I think, one of the learnings, I would say, for and to share with everybody, right? That hire, I would say, good young talent, and have few good experienced people who can manage that young talent. So that's
Like a balance between the team. So it's like seniors and juniors amalgamating together, so
correct,
that
correct, correct, correct. And the third thing and interesting thing, is once you are in that journey of getting acquired, right? You'll have a lot of people who would say, who would approach and say, hey, I mean, okay, tell me, we would also be interested in acquiring. Okay, but it's all about, then you have to stick to uh, what you believe in and what you're culturally fit at, and things like that, because a lot of times then in retrospectively, okay, but somebody who has given you offer first is going to make
yeah.
sense, right? So that but
It's like I consider it as a very much situation similar to a marriage, basically. So one you are kind of assessing, and
right.
then on the marriage day there could be other suitors also. You are looking at it like everybody is thinking, oh, I could have proposed.
Correct, correct. And as I said, and I will emphasize it again, more than the money, obviously you have to make money out of the whole transaction, but more than the money, what I think you need to focus on, the key thing is, are the two companies culturally fit for each other?
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's going to make your life very difficult. Thankfully for us, it is a great and smooth journey. But yeah, that was one of the key things that I learned, because when we were looking for acquisition, we were like, what is the valuation, X, Y, Z? We want only this much, we want that, and all that. And then we realized that, hey, I mean, okay, this is like just a part of a transaction. The whole thing is all about the entire team and what happens next, right? So that's one of the key things.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Rishi. I think we are already past the time. So we'll end it here. Thank you so much. I'll leave the time for discussions and any questions. So please stay for that, everyone. And it has been a really great session, Rishi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, pleasure